Assalamu alaikum. Bismillah. Rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri. Rabbi zidni ilma. In the name of Allah, my Lord, open up for me my chest and ease my task for me. My Lord, increase me in knowledge. Now today's topic is the book and something like it, a dual revelation or dual wahi. The traditional Muslims, especially those who are Sunni, they hold the view or they make the claim that Prophet Muhammad alayhi salam received not one but two revelations or two distinct revelations. Now they refer to the book as the Qur'an and they call it the wahi matlu, this recited revelation, or wahi zahir, the apparent revelation. And they also refer to this something like it, and this is referring to the Sunnah. And they refer to this as the wahi ghayri matlu or the wahi batin. This is referred to as the unrecited revelation, or you could say the hidden revelation. And they have different ways in which they view this. For example, they say that something like it, this Sunnah, some hold the view that the Sunnah is sort of second to the Qur'an. They say the Qur'an comes first and the Sunnah comes second, okay? Some hold the view that they are both equal, like they both carry the same weight, okay? And others hold the view, believe it or not, that the Sunnah is even greater, or it has even more importance than the Qur'an itself. Now, if you don't believe me, watch my video called Tradition versus Revelation, and I talk about this. I talk about how the scholars have raised the status of Sunnah to above the Qur'an itself, brothers and sisters. Subhanallah. Now, they also refer to Sunnah, they say the authority of the Sunnah. They say that the authority of the Sunnah has this equal weight to the Qur'an, and we must equally follow it alongside the Qur'an. However, the question is, in fact, the thesis of my presentation is going to be, does the Qur'an make mention of this dual revelation or this dual authority that was allegedly given to Prophet Muhammad? Okay, this is the question. Now, I'm going to show you numerous verses to prove to you or try to show you, but the Qur'an makes no mention of this, brothers and sisters. But of course, what the traditional Muslims do is they bend and twist verses. They take verses in isolation. They take verses out of context to try to prove the authority of the Sunnah. For example, they'll say things like, oh, well, the Qur'an says obey Allah and obey the messenger, doesn't it? They say obey Allah is to obey the Qur'an and obey the messenger is to obey the Sunnah. That's how they try to trick you, right? They also use the verse which the Qur'an says, whatsoever the messenger gives you, take it, and whatsoever he forbids you, leave it. See, this is referring to Sunnah, they say. They use the verse, no, by your Lord, they can have no faith until they make you, Muhammad alayhi salam, a judge in all their disputes. See, they say this is referring to Sunnah. They also use the verse in chapter 16 where it says, and we sent down to you the dhikr, the reminder, so that you may explain to the people. See this explanation. Where is the explanation? It's in the Sunnah, brother. And they use the verses of Qibla as well to try to prove that there was this additional revelation given to the Prophet. They also use the verses in the Quran which makes mention of hikmah. They say, see, the hikmah is a Sunnah, brother. Now, I myself, I used to be a traditional Muslim, and to be more precise, I was a Salafi, and I fell for this. In fact, the doctrine of the Sunnah was drilled into me, brothers and sisters. It was drilled into me. In fact, it was deeply embedded within me. Okay? Now, and at that time, I actually didn't read the Quran back in the day when I was sort of slowly starting to practice my religion. And then eventually I thought, you know what? I want to read the Quran. I want to start reading this scripture which Allah sent down to His messenger. And I found something really strange. SubhanAllah. I started seeing that the Quran makes no mention of this so-called authority of the Sunnah. But again, they use those verses which I just quoted 2 seconds ago, that they try to bend and twist verses to make way for the Sunnah or try to support the doctrine of the Sunnah. Okay? Now, brothers and sisters, we'll get started. I'm going to quote to you a Hadith. This is a well-known Hadith, and I'm going to show you how problematic this Hadith is at so many different levels. Look at this, brothers and sisters. This is found in Abu Dawud, right? This is considered Sahih by the scholars. It says the Prophet allegedly said, beware, like he's warning the people, I have been given the Qur'an, al-Kitab, the Qur'an, and something like it. Now look at this, the Arabic reads, وَمِثْلَهُ مَعَهُ. Now the word mithlahu is fascinating. The word mithlahu means likeness or equivalent. I've been given the Qur'an and something like, or the equivalent of the Qur'an. That's what the Hadith says. And the Hadith continues and says, yet the time is coming. Now you see the Prophet here, he's foretelling the future. You see this a lot in the Hadith literature, subhanAllah. A time is coming when a man will replete on his couch and will say, keep to the Qur'an. What you find in it to be permissible, treat it as permissible. And what you find in it to be prohibited, treat it as prohibited. Now, subhanAllah, he says that the Prophet warned us about people like myself, right? But they're going to just stick with the Qur'an. Beware of these people, because the Prophet was allegedly given something else. Now, here's the question, brothers and sisters. When it says something like it, what do we mean exactly? Mithlahu, that word is fascinating. Now, as you know, the Qur'an is a book. Now, I can hand over a copy of the Qur'an to somebody and say, here is a complete copy of the Qur'an, from start to finish, from beginning to end. However, can we do the same thing with the Sunnah? Can we hand over a complete copy of the Sunnah to someone and say, here you go, here's the complete Sunnah, from start to finish? As you know, Sunnah isn't exactly synonymous with Hadith. Now, much of the Sunnah is captured within the Hadiths, but you also find Sunnah in, for example, in the books of fiqh, for example, from the Hanafis, the Malikis, the Hanbalis, etc. You also find Sunnah in the practices of the people. For example, Imam Malik held the view that the Sunnah was within the practices of the people of Medina, for example. So can you actually hand over a copy of the Sunnah to someone and say, here you go, here's the Sunnah? Here's another thing to think about. The Qur'an was revealed in full and was written down at the time of the Prophet. Was the Sunnah written down in full at the time of the Messenger? Another thing to reflect upon, the Qur'an has surahs in it, what we refer to as chapters, and it also has these mysterious letters, Alif, Lam, Mim, for example. Does the Sunnah have something like that? The Qur'an has, for example, it has the Muhkamat and Mutashabih verses in it. Does the Sunnah have something like that as well? The Qur'an is memorized by millions of people around the world. Is the Sunnah also memorized by millions of people around the world? And the list goes on. How exactly is it like the Qur'an, brothers and sisters? Now, we may argue that the Sunnah is equally important as the Qur'an. Now, we'll go with that, right? Now, the Hadith continues and says, beware, the Prophet is warning the people, right? Domestic art or domestic donkeys or beasts of prey with fangs are found belonging to a confederate unless its owner does not want it, are not permissible to you. Now you find this quite a lot in the Hadith literature, subhanAllah, where the Prophet allegedly makes haram certain things that are found outside of the Qur'an. I'm going to show you how this Hadith contradicts the Qur'an in so many ways, okay? And if you continue reading, it says, if anyone comes to some people, they must entertain him, but if they do not, he has a right to mock them to an amount equivalent to his entertainment. Now you said that my main focus is going to be the first part. There's the book and there's something like it, right? And subhanAllah, I'm going to show you how to, the Qur'an contradicts this at so many levels. Subhanallah, brothers and sisters. Now, have a look at this magnificent verse from the Qur'an, brothers and sisters. Chapter 17, verse 88. Look what it reads. Say, the messenger is told to say, if mankind and the jinn gathered in order to produce the likeness. Now look at this word, bimithli. Now this is the same word as used in the Hadith just earlier. Of this Qur'an, they could not produce the like of it, bimithlihi. The same words are used, brothers and sisters, even if they were to help each other. Now I can end this presentation right here with this one verse. SubhanAllah, I can end the presentation. The Qur'an here is denying that there's anything like it, brothers and sisters. And yet the Hadith is telling us that the Prophet was allegedly given the Qur'an and something like it, mithlahu, something like it. But the Qur'an completely denies this, brothers and sisters. Look at that. Here's another verse to reflect upon. Chapter 50, verse 34. Then let them produce a statement like it, if they should speak the truth. فَلْيَأْتُ بِحَدِيثٍ مِثْلِهِ. Likeness, the equivalent, if they speak the truth. Think about that, brothers and sisters. In fact, the word there is hadith. Let them produce a hadith like it if they speak the truth. Subhanallah, brothers and sisters. Just these verses is enough to destroy, to dismantle the hadith. But brothers and sisters, I'll keep going. Look what the magnificent Qur'an says. Now, I'm going to talk about the topic of sending down, anzala. You see, in the Qur'an describes how it was sent down. I've made this video called How Was the Qur'an Revealed? And I talk about how the Qur'an was sent down and how it was inspired to Muhammad alayhi salam. Now, I just want to go through this thing just to sort of get us thinking, okay? Have a look at this, brothers and sisters. Chapter 2, verse 23. Look at this beauty. And if you are in doubt about what we have sent down, anzala, upon our servant, nazzalna ala abdina, upon our servant, then produce a surah the like of it. Look at that, brothers and sisters. Bi suratin, a surah min mithlihi, the same word, mithlihi, like it, if they speak the truth. Remember what the Hadith says? The Prophet allegedly was given the likeness of this Qur'an. But look what the Qur'an said. Bring a surah like it, brothers and sisters. Bring a surah like it, mithlihi, singular pronoun. Bring a surah like it. Now, can you refer to the Sunnah as surahs or the Hadith literature as surahs, brothers and sisters? Here's another magnificent verse to reflect upon. Again, in chapter 2, verse 97. Say, the messengers told to say, Qul, whoever is an enemy to Jibreel, it is he who has brought down the Qur'an upon your heart. Notice in the Arabic, it doesn't say Qur'an, but look what it says. فَإِنَّهُ Jibreel نَزَّلَ hu, the suffix hu at the end, which it makes a singular pronoun, sent it down, singular pronoun, ala qalbika, by the permission of Allah, confirming that which was before her, and as a guidance and a good tidings for the believers. Look at that, brothers and sisters. Whatever Allah sent down as wahi, as revelation to his messenger, it's always described in singular form, never dual, brothers and sisters. Have a look at this other verse. Again in Surah Baqarah. Look at this beauty. Chapter 2, verse 159. I love this. Indeed, those who conceal what we sent down, anzala, sent down, of clear proofs and guidance. Look at this, brothers and sisters. Min al-bayyinati. Now the bayyinah, it's with the definite article. Al-bayyinati wal-huda. Again with the definite article. And the guidance. Al-bayyinat and the guidance. After we made it clear, look at that. Bayyanahu. See, who suffix at the end. Singular pronoun. For the people, linnas, for the people in the book. Fil kitab. Which book is this talking about, brothers and sisters? Can we honestly say the book is the Qur'an and the Sunnah? Can we say that? Now, in the Arabic grammar, does it read this? Think about it. Now, have a look at this other verse. Chapter 2, verse 231. And remember the favor of Allah upon you and what has been sent down, anzala, to you of the book, al-kitab, definite article, the book, and the wisdom, wal-hikmah, again, definite article. Now, what the traditional Muslims say is, the book is referring to the Qur'an and the hikmah is referring to the Sunnah. This is what they claim. But the Arabic, if you keep reading, it disproves their claims. It says, Ya'idhukum bihi. Allah instructs bihi. Singular pronoun, masculine, singular pronoun. Otherwise, Allah would have used the word bihima, which is plural. Which is dual. Or he could have used the word bihima, which is plural. Think about that, brothers and sisters. Allah Azza wa Jalla was so precise with his choice of words. Do you see what was sent down to Prophet Muhammad is always described in singular form, never dual, never plural. That is absolutely fascinating. So if Allah did, according to the Hadith, if he sent down the Qur'an and another authority which is equal to the Qur'an, how come the Qur'an makes no mention of this, brothers and sisters? But all the traditional Muslims do is they resort to mental gymnastics. They bend and twist the verses. Say, obey Allah and obey the messenger. Apparently, obeying the messenger is something else. It's obey the Sunnah, apparently. Do you see these divergent tactics used by these people? Subhanallah. Let's continue, brothers and sisters. Have a look at this magnificent verse. Chapter 3, verse 3 to 4. He has sent down, nazala, upon you, alayka, upon you, Muhammad alayhi salam, the book, al-kitab, in truth, confirm what was before it, and he revealed, wa anzala, the Torah and the Injil. Now, the reason why I decided to use this verse, brothers and sisters, is because the Qur'an is self-aware. What that means is the Qur'an puts heavy emphasis on itself. It stresses the importance of itself throughout the Qur'an. For example, the Qur'an refers to itself as guidance in so many verses. The Qur'an refers to itself as light, nur. The Qur'an refers to itself as maw'idhatu, an instruction. The Qur'an refers to itself as furqan, a criterion. The Qur'an refers to itself as a dhikr, a reminder. In so many verses, it puts heavy emphasis on itself. And at the same time, it speaks highly of the Torah and the Injil as well. For example, the Qur'an refers to the Torah and the Injil as beacons of light, nurun, as guidance, huda, as dhikr, as a reminder, as a criterion, furqan, etc. And the list goes on. In fact, watch my video called What is the Qur'an? And I'll actually go through these, brothers and sisters. Now here's the question. Does the Qur'an make mention of the authority of the Sunnah like it does with the Qur'an, or even with previous revelations? For example, does the Qur'an say the Sunnah is guidance? The Sunnah is mercy. The Sunnah is a criterion. The Sunnah is a glad tidings. The Sunnah is a mercy. Do you find any verses like this, brothers and sisters? In fact, the word Sunnah does appear many times in the Qur'an. But the definition which traditional Muslims give to Sunnah, is it the same as it's defined in the Qur'an? That's the question. In fact, watch my video called Sunnah of who? The word Sunnah does appear in the Qur'an many times. But does it mean authority of the Sunnah? Does it mean Sunnah of Muhammad, or the Sunnah of the Nabi, or the Sunnah of the Rasul, brothers and sisters? What you find instead, you find the Sunnah of the former people, Sunnah al-Awwaleen, and you find the Sunnah of Allah. That's what you find in the Quran, brothers and sisters. Now, the definition given by the traditional Muslims and the definition given in the Quran, are they consistent with one another? You be the judge. Let's continue, inshallah. Look at this verse. Chapter 4, verse 105. Surely we have sent down, anzalna, to you, ilayka, to you, the book, al-kitab, in truth that you may judge, litahkuma, which comes from that root, ha, kaf, mim, which means to exercise authority or to give judgment between men by that which Allah has shown you. So be not a pleader for the treacherous. Now, Allah sent down the book. Now, the book here, is it the Quran and the Sunnah, brothers and sisters? Think about that. Now, what is often used by the traditional Muslims is chapter 4, verse 65, in the same chapter. They use this verse to try to support the Sunnah. It says, no, by your Lord, they can have no faith until they make you, Muhammad, yuhakkibuka, a judge. See, the same root, yuhakkibuka, the same root here, yutahkuma, ha, kaf, mim, concerning that which they dispute amongst themselves and finding within themselves no discomfort from what you have judged and submit in full submission. See, they try to use this verse to say, oh, you see, the Prophet's judgments are found outside of the Quran. You have to go outside the Quran. You have to refer to the Sunnah, they say. But look, in the same chapter, verse 105, it says, we sent down to you the book, the Quran. Why can't Allah just say the book and the Sunnah here? That's it. If the Quran had said that, that's it. Case closed. But does it say anything like this, brothers and sisters? No, it does not. In fact, in the same chapter, look at this magnificent verse. Same chapter, verse 166. Look what it reads. But Allah bears witness to that which He has sent down to you. Anzala, sent down ilayka, to you. He has sent it down. Look at that. Anzala hu, singular pronoun, with His knowledge, and the angels bear witness, and Allah is sufficient as a witness. Look at that, brothers and sisters. Whenever Allah talks about sending down wahi, sending down authority, sending down revelation, it's always described in singular form. Never dual, never. Subhanallah, that speaks volumes, brothers and sisters. Let's move on. Look at this verse, chapter 5, verse 48. And we have sent down, wa anzalna, to you, the book, al-kitab. Does it say al-kitab wa mithlahu ma'ahu? Does it say that, brothers and sisters? Or wa sunnah? Does it say that, brothers and sisters? In truth, confirming that which preceded it of the scripture and a criterion over it. So judge between them, fahkum, judge between them by what Allah has anzala, sent down, and do not follow the inclinations away from what has come to you of truth. To each of you we have prescribed a law and a method. Had Allah will, He would have made you one nation. But He intends to test you in that which He has given you. So race to do all that is good. To Allah is your return altogether, and He will inform you concerning that which you used to differ. See how Allah talks about sending down the book, al-kitab, to judge between the people. In fact, brothers and sisters, I urge you to please pause my video, go to these verses on your phone, go to the verses, look at the verses before it and look at the verses after it. See if Allah is referring to anything outside of the Quran. Think about that, brothers and sisters. Look at the verse, look at the context, brothers and sisters. I urge you, please do that. Chapter 6, verse 114. I love this. Say, when it is a other than Allah I shall seek as judge, hakaman, when it is He who has sent down anzala to you the book, al-kitab, explained in detail. Look at that. The book. Does it say the book and the sunnah? The book and mithlahu ma'ahu? And those who we gave the scripture know that it is sent down from your Lord in truth. Now look at that. Annahu, singular pronoun. It is sent down. So never be among the doubters. Is this referring to the Qur'an and something like it, brothers and sisters? And in the same chapter, verse 155, look at this. This is a blessed book, kitabun, a blessed book, mubarakun. We have sent it down, anzalnahu, singular pronoun. Look at this. So follow it, fattabi'uhu, singular pronoun. Follow it and be mindful of Allah, so you may be shown mercy. Does it say follow the Qur'an and something like it? Follow the Qur'an and the Sunnah? Why couldn't the Qur'an just say this, subhanAllah? If the Sunnah has equal authority or even greater authority than the Qur'an, how come the Qur'an makes no mention of this, brothers and sisters? In fact, the Qur'an is oblivious to this concept of the Sunnah, or at least the prophetic Sunnah. Subhanallah, brothers and sisters. I'm not telling you, brothers and sisters, I'm not saying reject Sunnah. I'm not saying reject Hadith. I'm not saying reject tradition. But look at what the Qur'an is saying. The way the Qur'an presents itself. Does it give any emphasis on Sunnah like it does with the Qur'an and previous revelations? Ask yourself that question. Now, chapter 7, verse 1 to 3. Alif Lam Mim Sad. This is a book, kitabun, unzila, sent down to you, ilayka. So let there be not in your breast any distress therefrom, that you may warn thereby with it, bihi, singular pronoun. So you warn with it as a reminder to believers. Follow, okay, what has been sent down to you, unzila, to you from your Lord, and do not follow other than him any allies. Little do you remember. Look at the way the Quran, look at the Arabic grammar, the way it presents itself, brothers and sisters. Is there any indication? In fact, here's a question. Are there any verses like crystal clear, unambiguous, unequivocal verses that states clearly we have sent down the Sunnah, or we have sent down the likeness of this Qur'an, or we've sent down wahi ghayr matlu, anything like this, brothers and sisters? Moving on, chapter 9, verse 64. The hypocrite, the munafiqeen, are apprehensive, they are terrified, lest a surah be sent down about them, to nazzala, sent down, alayhim, upon them, suratun, look, a surah. They're scared that a surah will come down. Now, how come it doesn't say sunnah here? Think about it. Why couldn't a sunnah come down? Why couldn't the Prophet get inspiration outside of this Quran to sort of expose these munafiqs? It says surah, brothers and sisters. Allah Azza wa Jal was so precise with his choice of words, informing them of what is in their hearts. Say, mock as you wish. Indeed, Allah will expose that which you fear. Look at that. Here's another verse. Chapter 12, verse 1 to 2. I absolutely love this. Alif Lam Ra. Tilka ayatul kitabin mubin. These are the verses of a clear book. Indeed, we have sent it down. Look at that. Anzalnahu, singular pronoun, as an Arabic Qur'an. Qur'anan Arabiyyan. Now, Allah Azza wa Jal is unequivocally, unambiguously, and so crystal clearly explaining to us that it was the Qur'an that was sent down to Prophet Muhammad. Allah Azza wa Jal is spoon-feeding you this knowledge. It's telling you directly in your face. It was the Qur'an that was sent down. Do you see any verses saying, even indirectly, that the Sunnah was sent down? Do you find this, brothers and sisters? Moving on, chapter 13, verse 1. Alif Lam Mim Ra. These are the verses of a book. And what has been sent down, unzila, to you from your Lord, is the truth. But most of the people do not believe. Again, in chapter 13, at verse 36, look at this. And those to whom we have given scripture rejoice at what has been unzila, to you, sent down to you. But among the faction of those who deny part of it, look at that, ba'dahu, part of it, singular pronoun. Say, I have been commanded to worship Allah and not to associate anything with Him. To Him I invite and to Him is my return. Look at the precise choice of words, brothers and sisters. Again in chapter 30, and actually the next verse straight after is verse 37. And thus we have sent it down, anzalnahu, singular pronoun, as an Arabic legislation. Hukman Arabiyan. Hukum, the hukum here. Is the hukum here referring to the Qur'an and the Sunnah, brothers and sisters? But in fact it says we have sent it down, singular pronoun. Look at that, brothers and sisters. And if you should follow the inclination of after what has come to you of knowledge, you will not have against Allah any ally or any protector. Look at that, brothers and sisters. The precise choice of words. Chapter 16, verse 102. Say, Qul, the messengers told us, say, the pure spirit, Ruhul Qudus, has brought it down, Nazzalahu, singular pronoun, from your Lord in truth to make firm those who believe and as a guidance and good tidings to the Muslims. Singular pronoun, brothers and sisters. Chapter 26, verse 192 to 195. And indeed, it, wa innahu, singular pronoun, is a revelation of the Lord of the worlds. The trustworthy spirit, Ruhul Amin, has brought it down. Look at that. Nazala, sent down. Bihi, singular pronoun. Brought it down, singular pronoun, upon your heart, ala qalbika, that you may be of the warners in a clear Arabic language. Look at the precise choice of words, brothers and sisters. Here's another verse. Chapter 34, verse 6. And those who have been given knowledge see that what is sent down, unzila, to you, ilayka, from your Lord, it is the truth. Huwal haq, huwa, single, masculine, singular pronoun. And it guides, wa yehdi, it guides to the path of the exalted in might, the praiseworthy, Azizul Hamid. Look at that, brothers and sisters. The precise choice of words, the precision of the Qur'an. Chapter 39, verse 23. Allah has sent down the best statement. Allahu nazzala, sent down ahsan al-hadith. Allah has sent down the best hadith. A book which is consistent with itself and repeated. Kitaban mutashabihan mathaniya. The skins shiver therefrom those who fear their Lord. Then their skins and their hearts relax to the remembrance of Allah. And look at this. That is the guidance. ذَلِكَ هُدَى اللَّهِ. That, the ahsan al-hadith. That is the guidance of Allah. Yehdi bihi, with it, singular pronoun. With it he guides whom he wills. And one to whom Allah leads astray, for him there is no guide. Brothers and sisters, is there any evidence that Allah sent down the authority of the Sunnah? Anything like this, brothers and sisters? Here's another verse, chapter 47, verse 2. And those who believe and do righteous deeds and believe in what was sent down upon Muhammad, Nuzila, sent down, ala Muhammadin. And it is the truth from their Lord. Look at this. Wa huwa al-haq, huwa, singular pronoun, brothers and sisters. It is the truth from their Lord. And he will remove from them their misdeeds and amend their condition. Look at the words, brothers and sisters. Chapter 47, verse 2. Indeed, it is we who have sent down to you the Qur'an progressively. Inna nahnu nazzalna alayka al-Qur'ana tanzila. We have sent down to you the Qur'an. Now, here's another verse I just want to throw in there. Chapter 15, verse 9. This is abused by the Muslims. It reads the same. It starts off exactly the same. Inna, nahnu, nazzalna. But here it says, nazzalna dhikra, the reminder. And that what they tried to say, and I heard this argument, right? They say the dhikr here is the Qur'an and also the Sunnah, right? That's what they try to fool you with. But if you keep reading the passage, it says, wa inna lahu lahafidhun. The word lahu is masculine singular pronoun, brothers and sisters. With it, he will guard it, brothers and sisters. See, don't let them fool you. See, we sent down the Qur'an and we sent down the dhikr, and with it he will guard it from corruption. Subhanallah. Reflect upon that. Now, brothers and sisters, I've shown you so many verses how the Qur'an was sent down. Now we know from the Qur'an, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala also sends down many things. For example, Allah does anzal, he sends down rain from the sky. Allah does anzala, He sends down angels from the sky. Allah sends down rizq, provision from the sky. Allah sends down iron from the sky. Allah sends down sakina onto the believers. But we're talking about wahi. Is there a crystal clear, unequivocal, unambiguous verse that says we have sent down the Sunnah? And I've shown you numerous verses where Allah said, He spells it out to you. He says we have sent down the Qur'an. It spells it out to you, brothers and sisters. Is there any mention of Sunnah? Or mithlahu ma'ahu? Or wahi ghayri mattu? Or wahi batin? Anything like this? Now, inspired. I'm also going to talk about this as well. In chapter 42 verse 51, it talks about how Allah Azza wa Jal yukallimahullahu. He speaks to His servants, right? He speaks to a bashar through three ways. And one of those is through wahyan. Please refer to my video called What Was Revealed to Prophet Muhammad to get more information about this, okay? Now, it talks about how this Qur'an was also inspired to Muhammad ﷺ, and it spells it out for you. Now, the Qur'an also talks about how Allah inspired the mother of Moses, right? Al-Hayna, we inspired the mother of Moses and gave her instructions. Allah also inspired the bee and gave the bee instructions. Allah also inspired the disciples of Jesus, etc., right? And now I'm going to show you how the Quran was also inspired to the Muhammad alayhi salam. Okay, have a look at these verses. Chapter 3, verse 44. Look at this. That is, dhalika, that is, of the news, amba'i, of the unseen. We have nuhihi, inspired. It comes from that waw ha ya root, okay, which means inspiration, right? It says verbal communication. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala verbally communicates with you, right? To you. And you were not with them when they cast their pens as to which of them should be responsible for Maryam alayhi salam. Nor were you with them when they disputed. Now here it says, dhalika, that is. Obviously this is referring to the verses before it, doesn't it? It's referring to Maryam alayhi salam. And the Quran inspired this knowledge, this information within the Quranic text, brothers and sisters. This Quran was inspired to Prophet Muhammad. Was this inspiration talking about, is it talking about something other than the Quran? Here's another verse to think about. Chapter 6, verse 19. I love this. Say, the messenger told us, say, what thing is the greatest in testimony? Akbaru shahadatan, the greatest testimony. Say, Allah is a witness between me and you. The messenger told to say this in response to that. And this Quran was inspired to me. Look at this. وَأُوهِيَ وَوْحَيَ, this wahyun word. إِلَيَّ هَذَا الْقُرْآنِ. See, the Quran spells it out to you, brothers and sisters. It was the Quran that was sent down, and it was the Quran that was inspired to him. I like the way the channel, of the brothers from the channel Endgame Islam put this. They describe wahi as this transmission, and I love the way they put it. Please refer to the Endgame Islam channel. They're brilliant. A shout out to those brothers. And it says that I may warn you with it. Look at that. لِأُنذِرُكُمْ بِهِ. Masculine singular pronoun. With it I warn you, and whoever it reaches. Do you testify with Allah there are other deities? Say, I will not testify with you. Say, indeed, He is but one God, for one Lord. And indeed, I am free of what you associate with Him. This Quran was inspired to me. The Quran spells it out to you. How come it doesn't say, وَأُوهِيَ إِلَيَّ هَذَا وَقُرْآنَ وَالسُّنَّةِ? Does it say anything like this, brothers and sisters? Again, in chapter 6, verse 50, say, the messengers told us, say, I do not tell you that I have the depositories or the provision containing the provision of Allah, or that I know the unseen. Nor do I tell you that I am an angel. I only follow what is inspired to me. Now here, actually even the translation is not correct. It reads, in attabi'u illa, there's a negation. I follow not illa except ma yuha ilayya. What this wahi, this wahyun that came to me, right? Say, is the blind equivalent to the seeing? Then will you not give thought? And what was inspired to the messenger? Hadha al-Qur'an. The Qur'an spells it out to you. In fact, it spoon feeds you this knowledge. Chapter 6, verse 106, same chapter. Follow, ittabi, follow. Ma yu'uhiya, what is inspired to you from your Lord. There is no deity except Him, and turn away from those that associate others with Allah. Follow what was inspired. Uhiya, hadha al-Qur'an, this Qur'an. Does it say this Qur'an and Sunnah anyway, brothers and sisters? Does it say, is there any ambiguity here, brothers and sisters? I love this. Chapter 6, same chapter, verse 145. Look what it reads. Say, I do not find, la ajidu, I do not find, within that which was inspired to me, fabima uhiya ilayya, to me, muharramam, anything forbidden, to the one who would eat it. Now this is in the context of food. Illa, except, and there are 4 things mentioned here. Dead animal, blood spilled, the flesh of swine, or anything dedicated to other than Allah. Now notice, brothers and sisters, there are 3 other verses in the Quran that make mention of these exact 4 things. So you see this perfect harmony and this consistency throughout the Quran. Now notice, remember in the Hadith it says that the Prophet allegedly made haram domestic donkeys and anything with fangs. Now think about this. Here the messenger is told to say, I do not find anything haram except these 4 things. How does that Hadith fit into this verse here? Think about it, brothers and sisters. How do they go hand in hand? How are they consistent with one another? Subhanallah. Think about it. This is cognitive dissonance. You can't have it both ways. Here the messenger is told that I don't find anything except these 4. And there's this perfect consistency and harmony throughout the Quran. Subhanallah. Do you see how the hadiths are so problematic? Moving forward, chapter 7, verse 2 and 3. And when you, Muhammad, do not bring them a sign, an ayat, right? They say, why have you not contrived it? Say, I only follow what is yuha to me. قُلْ إِنَّمَا أَتَّبِعُ مَا يُوحَى إِلَيَّ مِنْ رَبِّي, from my Lord. This is an enlightenment from your Lord and a guidance and a mercy for a people who believe. Where is the authority of the Sunnah, brothers and sisters? Honestly, I really like to know. Where is it? The next verse after is verse 204. So when the Qur'an is recited, al-Qur'an, when the Qur'an is recited, then listen to it and pay attention that you may receive mercy. The Qur'an tells you in crystal clear, unequivocal, unambiguous terms that this Qur'an was inspired to the Prophet. Subhanallah. There's no room for doubt. Chapter 10, verse 15. And when our verses are recited to them as clear evidences, those who do not expect a meeting with us say, bring us a Qur'an other than this or change it. Say to them, it is not for me to change it on my own accord. I only follow what is inspired to me. Again, the translation's wrong. It reads, in attabi'u, illa, I follow not, illa, except, ma yuha, ilayya, to me, what is inspired. And what was inspired to the messenger? Brothers and sisters, the Qur'an spells it out to you. Subhanallah. Indeed, I fear that if I should disobey my Lord, the punishment of a tremendous day. Again, in the same chapter, verse 109, and follow what is revealed, inspired to you. وَاتَّبِعْ مَا يُوحَى إِلَيْكَ, and be patient until Allah will judge, and He is the best of judges. Now, let's pause there for a moment. Remember in chapter 4, verse 65, how they say they cannot have any faith until they make you, Muhammad, a judge in all their disputes. See, they say these judgments are found in the Sunnah. But look what it says here. Be patient. It tells the Prophet to be patient until Allah will judge, until Allah brings His judgment. And remember in the verses where it says, Anzalnahu, Allah sent it down, Hukman Arabiyan. He sent down the judgment in Arabic. Now what is this judgment? Is the Quran and the Sunnah, or is it the Quran, brothers and sisters? So the Prophet judged the people with the Quran that was sent down to him, which is described in singular form, never dual, never plural, brothers and sisters. Moving on, chapter 11, verse 49. Tilka, that is of the news, ambai, of the unseen, of the ghaib, which we, nuhiha, inspired to you. You knew it not. Look at that. Ta'lamuha, singular pronoun. You knew it not. Neither you nor your people before this. So be patient. Again, see, it tells the Prophet, be patient. Indeed, the best outcome is for the righteous. The Prophet ﷺ only judged by what was sent down and inspired to him, which was the Quran alone, brothers and sisters. Chapter 12, verse 3. We relate to you the best of story in that which we have sent down to you of this Quran. Awhayna, it's inspired, ilayka, to you. Hadhan Quran. Brothers and sisters, How much more clearer does Allah Azza wa Jal have to be? The Quran, crystal clearly, unambiguously tells you it was this Quran that was inspired to him. Do you see any verses saying we inspired to you the Sunnah, or we sent down to you the Sunnah, or we have revealed, we've given you the book and the Sunnah? Do you find any verses like this, brothers and sisters? Although you were before it of the unaware. Now, just as a side note, and I quoted this earlier, in the same chapter, these few verses here at chapter 12 perfectly sums up what was sent down, anzala, and what was inspired, al-hayna, to the Prophet. And it was nothing except the Quran, brothers and sisters. Alif Lam Ra. These are the verses of a clear book. Which book is this talking about? Indeed, we have sent it down, anzalnahu, as an Arabic Quran, Qur'anan Arabiyan. What more evidence do you need, brothers and sisters? The Quran was sent down and the Quran was inspired to the messenger. Where's the Sunnah in the equation, brothers and sisters? Again, in chapter 12, verse 102, look at this. That is, dhalika, that is, obviously this is talking about the verses before, of the news of the unseen, which we inspire to you, nuhihi, to you, and you were not with them when they put together their plan while they conspired. What is this talking about, brothers and sisters? Dhalika, obviously the verses before it. Read and weep. In fact, these verses, brothers and sisters, pause the video, look at the context, look at the verses before, look at the verses after it. Subhanallah. Chapter 16, verse 123. Then we have inspired al-hayna to you, ilayka, to follow millata Ibrahim, inclining towards shirk, hanifan, wa ma kana min al-mushrikeen, and he was not of the mushriks. Allah is inspired. He inspired the messenger to follow the way of Ibrahim. Brothers and sisters, how did Muhammad follow the way of Ibrahim? Peace be upon both of them. Think about it. Did he approach Jews and Christians to say, can you please give me the Sahih collections of Ibrahim? Or did he say, give me the Sunnah of Ibrahim alayhi? The way, the millata of Ibrahim is perfectly summed up in the Quran, brothers and sisters. Subhanallah. Chapter 17, verse 39. That is, again, dhalika, that is, from what your Lord has inspired, awha, to you, of wisdom. Dhalika mimma awha ilayka rabbuka minal hikmati. And do not make as equals with Allah any deities. My apologies. Lest you should be thrown into hell, blamed and banished. Brothers and sisters, dhalika is what we inspire to you. Awha, inspired to you of wisdom. This is obviously talking about the verses before it, isn't it? Because if you read the verses before this, it gives all these instructions. For example, Allah says, do not take the life of that which you have no right. Do not touch the wealth of the orphan. Do not speak of that which you have no knowledge. And it says, that is what we inspire to you of wisdom. So this Quran itself is the wisdom, brothers and sisters. I don't try to tell you the wisdom is something else. Again, in the same chapter, at verse 73, look at this beauty. And indeed, they were about to tempt you away from that which we inspired to you, al-hayna, to you, in order to make you invent about us something else. Now, brothers and sisters, let's pause over a moment. I'd like to give a shout out to brother Babu Shu'aib from the Correctional Officer channel. May Allah bless you, brother, if you're watching this. He pointed to say there's something about us. He said, alayna, upon us, ghayrahu. Now, ghayrahu, the whole suffix, is singular pronoun. They want to make the Prophet invent something about Allah, something other than it, singular pronoun. Look at that. And then they would have taken you as a friend. Look at the precision, the precise choice of words. Subhanallah. Move on, chapter 18, verse 27. And recite what law, what has been uhiya, inspired to you of the book. What law, ma uhiya ilayka minal kitabi rabbika. Recite what has been inspired to you of the book. Which book is this talking about, brothers and sisters? Is this the Quran and something like it? Is it the Quran and the Sunnah, brothers and sisters? Moving on, again, in the same chapter, verse 110. Say, the messenger is told to say, I am only a man like you, to whom it has been inspired, Yuha, that your Lord is one God. So whoever hope for the meeting of his Lord, let him do righteous work and do not associate in the worship of his Lord anyone. Crystal clear, brothers and sisters. Chapter 29, verse 45. Recite, like the verse before, utlu, recite. what has been inspired. Ma uhiya ilayka, of the book, min al-kitab. Is this the book and something like it, something else, and the Sunnah? And establish salah. Indeed, prayer prohibits immorality and wrongdoing, and the remembrance of Allah is greater, and Allah knows what you do. Crystal clear, brothers and sisters. Chapter 33, verse 1 to 2. O Prophet, fear Allah and do not obey the disbelievers and the hypocrites. Indeed, Allah is ever knowing and wise. And follow that which has been inspired to you from your Lord, min rabbika. Indeed, Allah is ever of what you do. He is aware. Chapter 34, verse 50. Say, Qul, the messengers told to say, if I should err, I would only err against myself. But if I am guided, it is by what my Lord inspires to me. Fabima yuhi, inspired, ilayya rabbi, from my Lord. What was inspired to the Prophet? The Qur'an spells it out to you, brothers and sisters. Chapter 35, verse 31. And that which we have inspired, al-hayna, to you, of the book, it is the truth. Minal kitab, of the book, huwal haq, singular pronoun, huwa. Do you see the precise choice of word, confirming that which was before it? Indeed, Allah is of His service aware and seeing. Chapter 42, verse 7. And thus we have inspired, awhayna, to you, an Arabic Qur'an. Awhayna ilayka Qur'anan Arabiyan. How much more clearer does Allah Azza wa Jal have to be, brothers and sisters? That you may warn the mother of the cities and those around it, and warn the day of assembly, about which there is no doubt. A party will be in the paradise and a party in the blaze. Crystal clear, unequivocal, unambiguous. Chapter 42, verse 52. And thus we have inspired to you, al-hayna, an inspiration of our command, ruhan min amrina. The verse continues. You did not know what is the book, al-kitab, or what is faith, al-imanu, but we have made it, ja'alnahu, singular pronoun, we have made it a light by which we guide, bihi, masculine singular pronoun. Look at that, brothers and sisters. We have made it a light by which we guide, and indeed you guide to a straight path. Is it Muhammad who guides by his own accord, or is it by the light which Allah sent down to him, brothers and sisters? Crystal clear. The position, brothers and sisters. Chapter 43, verse 43 to 44. So adhere or hold fast to that which has been inspired to you, uhiya ilayka, to you. Indeed, you are on a straight path, and indeed, it is a reminder. Wa innahu, singular pronoun, la dhikrun, for you and your people, and you are going to be questioned. Crystal clear, singular pronoun. Chapter 46, verse 9. Say, the messengers told us, say, I am not something original among the messengers, nor do I know what will be done with me or with you. Now pause there for a moment. Remember the Hadith? Remember what it says in the Hadith? But the messengers said, beware, there's going to be such and such people appear. Here he says, I don't know what's going to be done with me nor with you. How do you reconcile between the two, brothers and sisters? I only follow that which is inspired to me. In attabi'u illa ma yuha ilayya. And I am not but a clear warner. Crystal clear, brothers and sisters. Chapter 53, verse 4. This old chestnut. It is not but a revelation inspired or inspiration inspired. And the verse before it says, وَمَا يَنْتِقُ عَنِ الْهَوَى. He does not speak of his own desire. But the next verse here, it's crystal clear. In huwa, singular pronoun. It is not, singular pronoun. In fact, I urge you to start reading from verse 1 all to verse 18. Crystal clear. Have a look at this verse. Chapter 36, verse 69. I just thought to throw this in there. And we did not give him knowledge of poetry, nor is it befitting for him. It is not in huwa illa dhikrun, a message, and a clear Qur'an. In huwa, singular pronoun. The dhikrun and a clear Qur'an. Singular pronoun. And chapter 38, verse 87. It is not in huwa, this is a negation, in huwa illa dhikrun lil alamin. Do you see the position, brothers and sisters? Now, here's something very interesting. Now, I spoke about how there's inspiration which comes from Allah, right? But guess what? There's another type of inspiration according to the Qur'an. But it's not what the traditional Muslims tell you. There's inspiration which comes from shayateen. Look at this, brothers and sisters. Chapter 6, verse 112. And thus we have made for every prophet an enemy. Shayateen insi, from mankind, wal jinn, and jinn. Inspiring. Look at that word there, yuhi, the same word as used before, to one another with decorative speech. Zukhraful qawl. Look at that, brothers and sisters. In delusion. But if your Lord had willed, they would have not done it. So leave them and what they invent. Brothers, let's focus on this for a moment. Let's pause it for a moment. We see that Allah Azza wa Jal inspires people. It's this verbal communication. And there's also communication which comes from shaitan. Look at that, from shayateen. How many times do you hear people say, oh, I hear voices? Christians and Buddhists and Hindus, and they claim that they hear voices. They claim that Ganesh spoke to them. They claim that Jesus spoke to them. But this is nothing except yuhi, which comes from shaitan. Subhanallah. And it says, Zukhraful qawl, this beautified, this decorative speech. And it tells us to leave them alone. Now, brothers and sisters, how do we leave something alone if we don't know what it's talking about? What is this actually talking about, brothers and sisters? I can't but help but think about this verse here. Look at this. Chapter 31, verse 6. And of the people is he who buys the amusement of speech. Lahwa al-hadith. Now the word lahwa is interesting. Lahwa means distracting or diverting speech to mislead people from the way of Allah without knowledge. And he who takes it as rickle, those will have a humiliating punishment. Lahwa al-hadith. They use these types of hadith to mislead, to divert people away. Zukhraful qawl, brothers and sisters. Brothers and sisters, I'm not saying reject Sunnah, reject Hadith, I'm not saying that. But take notice of what the Qur'an says, brothers and sisters. And it's telling us to stay away from this. Think about that, brothers and sisters. Now, I've spoken about how the Qur'an was sent down, anzala. The Qur'an was also inspired. Now have a look at this. The Qur'an says that it was also related to the Prophet. Have a look at this, brothers and sisters. Naqussu in Arabic. Have a look at this verse. Chapter 4, verse 164. And we have sent messengers about, we have related. Qasasnahum, related their stories to you before. And messengers about we have not related. Naqussushum to you. And Allah spoke to Moses with direct speech. See this Allah related this knowledge to the Prophet within the Qur'an itself. Have a look at this verse to give you more proof. Chapter 11, verse 100, it says, ذَلِكَ, that is from the news of the cities which we relate, نَقُصُّهُ, we relate to you of them. Some are still standing and some are a harvest mowed down. ذَلِكَ, so obviously this is talking about the verses before. Allah Azza wa Jal, not only did he send down the Qur'an, he inspired the Qur'an and he related the Qur'an to the Prophet. Where's the Sunnah in the equation, brothers and sisters? Here's another verse. Chapter 11, verse 120. And each story we relate, naqussu, to you, of the news of the messengers, is that by which bihi, with it, we made firm your heart. And there has come to you, in this, hadhihi, singular pronoun, in this, the truth, and an instruction and a reminder for the believers. Look at that, brothers and sisters. Also, for more information, refer to these verses here. Chapter 12, verse 3, chapter 18, verse 13, and chapter 20, verse 99. This Qur'an was also related to the messenger, brothers and sisters. Do you see anything about the Sunnah or this mithlahu ma'ahu be related to the messenger? Do you find anything like this, brothers and sisters? Now, one more category, recited, natlu. Not only was the Qur'an sent down, anzala, the Qur'an was inspired, awhayna, the Qur'an was related, naqussu, and the Qur'an was also recited. Have a look at these verses. Chapter 2, verse 252. These are the verses of Allah which we recite to you in truth. Tilka ayatullahi natluha alayka bil haqq. And indeed you are from among the messengers. Wa innaka la'ala my apologies. What was I can't remember at the moment. My apologies, brothers and sisters. La minal mursalin. Okay. Now, these are the verses which we recite to you. The ayat of Allah we recite to you. Have a look at this. Chapter 28, verse 3. Recite, natlu, to you. We recite, natlu, to you from the news of Moses and Fir'aun in truth for people who believe. So this Quran was recited to the messenger. Chapter 75, verse 16 to 19. You all know this verse. Move not your tongue with it, bihi, singular pronoun. To haste with it, bihi, again, singular pronoun. Indeed, upon us is its collection, and to make its recitation. So when we have recited it, qara'nahu, recited it, then follow its recitation. Then upon us is its clarification to you. Thumma inna alayna bayana. We all know this verse, brothers and sisters. Are these verses talking about anything other than the Qur'an? Is it talking about Sunnah or something else? Also have a look at these verses. How it talks about how the Qur'an was recited, brothers and sisters. Conclusion. Let's recap what we just went through. The Qur'an is self-aware, meaning it gives heavy emphasis on itself. The Qur'an talks about itself frequently, right? The Qur'an talks about how it is guidance, it is mercy, it is a glad tidings, it is a mighty book, it is an honored book, it is a reminder, it is a criterion. And the Qur'an at the same token, talks also about previous revelations and holds them in high esteem. For example, Allah refers to the Torah and the Injil as beacons of light and guidance and instruction and a mercy and a criterion, and the list goes on. How come the Qur'an never makes mention of the Sunnah in this way? For example, for myself, that's what I expect. When I started reading the Qur'an for the first time, I expected to find numerous verses about Sunnah. The word Sunnah does appear in the Qur'an, but it's got nothing to do with how they define it. Subhanallah. The Qur'an doesn't say anything about Sunnah, that the Sunnah is mercy, the Sunnah is guidance, the Sunnah is a healing, the Sunnah is this. Is there some verses that say we have sent down the authority of the Sunnah? Anything like it, or we inspired to you the Sunnah? The Qur'an was sent down. I've quoted numerous verses. أَنزَلْنَاهُ قُرْآنًا عَرَبِيًّا. The Qur'an spells it out to you. Is there any verse saying we've sent down the authority of the Sunnah? An unequivalent, an unambiguous or unequivocal verse that clearly states we have sent down the Sunnah. Can you find it, brothers and sisters? The Qur'an was also inspired. أَوْحَيْنَا إِلَيْكَ قُرْآنًا عَرَبِيًّا. We have inspired to you the Qur'an, an Arabic Qur'an. Another verse said, أَوْحَيْنَا إِلَيْكَ هَذَا الْقُرْآنِ. We inspired to you this Qur'an. Another verse of the Qur'an tells the messenger to say, أُوحِيَ إِلَيَّ هَذَا الْقُرْآنِ. And inspired to me this Qur'an. Brothers and sisters, where's the Sunnah in this equation? Shouldn't the Sunnah, if it's just as important as the Qur'an, in fact even greater than the Qur'an? For example, in that video I made called Tradition versus Revelation, you have to see what scholars say about Sunnah. For example, the likes of Imam al-Awza'i, a Hadith scholar, you know what he says? He says the book, meaning the Qur'an, is more in need of the Sunnah than the Sunnah is in need of the book. Look at that, brothers and sisters. They've raised the status of Sunnah they made it above the Qur'an itself. So if the authority of the Sunnah is so important and binding upon us, how come the Qur'an makes no mention of this? In fact, the Qur'an is oblivious to this idea of this prophetic Sunnah. The Qur'an was also related. Naqussu, remember the verses I quoted to you? We relate to you in this Qur'an. And the Qur'an was also recited. Natlu, recited to you. Look at that, brothers and sisters. The Qur'an speaks about itself. It speaks about previous revelation. The Qur'an talks about how it was sent down. The Qur'an speaks about how it was inspired. The Qur'an talks about how it was related. And the Qur'an talks about how it was recited to the messenger. Where's the Sunnah in all of this? In fact, this is the question, brothers and sisters. Where is the Sunnah? This mithlahu ma'ahu, this likeness of the Qur'an, this wahi ghayr matlu, this unrecited revelation, this wahi batin, this hidden revelation mentioned in the Qur'an. Shouldn't there be crystal clear, unequivocal, unambiguous verses in the Qur'an stating the authority of the Sunnah? Wouldn't you expect to find verses saying, we have sent down to you the Sunnah? For example, نَزَّلْنَا عَلَى Sunnah, نَزَّلْنَا إِلَيْكَ هَذَا Sunnah. Do you find anything like this? Or we inspire to you the Sunnah. أَوْحَيْنَا إِلَيْكَ هَذَا Sunnah. Do you find anything like this, brothers and sisters? Again, brothers, I'm not saying reject Sunnah, reject Hadith, reject tradition. In fact, I have a balanced approach, brothers and sisters. I do believe, on a positive note, I do believe that there are some good in the traditions. There are some words of wisdom. There are some, you can say there are some historical information in there. But I do not take them as revelation, brothers and sisters, because they are not. Let's not put words into Allah's mouth, brothers and sisters. Please think about this. Look at what the Qur'an says, how it was sent down and how the Qur'an was inspired. Is that a crystal clear, unequivocal, unambiguous verse that says we have sent down or inspired or related to you the Sunnah? Now, brothers and sisters, I can't find anything like it. In fact, the reason why I've become who I am today is because of this subject. Please reflect upon this, brothers and sisters. I hope you guys enjoyed the presentation. Until next time, stay safe, brothers and sisters. Assalamu alaikum.